Good evening.
No, we're not doing that. I thought it might be nice to set up camp here in the same spot that we always are and read a story or two. I thought that would be nice. We got haunted stories to read in the dark. I would just like to note that this book was created in 1981 and there is a Netflix series on it that I had no idea about. So there you go. The more you know. All right, bye. By Alvin Schwartz and Stefan Gamel? I don't know. Either way, that's the illustrator. But besides the point, welcome. I figured that this might be a nice change of pace for us, considering it is now October, officially spooky time for many people. So yeah, we're just gonna read a story. My throat kind of hurts, so I don't know if I'll be doing anything spectacular here, but we're gonna have fun with it. As long as I could actually see. That's like a thing. We're gonna use the lamplight. We'll call this a lamplight reading from now on. Probably not. We'll figure it out. Now, I don't know if or how scary these stories will be at all. So just bear with me. We're gonna probably do 2, maybe 3. We'll see. I should probably just flip through the book and see the exact stories that I want to read, but as of right now, I have one good story. Well, I shouldn't say it's good. I don't know if it's good, but we'll find out. I'm gonna throw it. All the spookiness has got me gassy. Any story that starts with one time shouldn't exist. I guess it's like telling a scary story to your friends, but at the same time, it's like, I don't feel like that's scary. This is more of like a campfire type of thing, you know what I mean? So, we'll see. Anyway, one time, a preacher went to see if he could put a haunt to rest at a house in his settlement. The house has been haunted for 10 years. Several people had tried to stay there all night, but they always would get scared out by the haunt. Riveting. I'm not making this any better. This preacher took his Bible and went to the house. Went on in, built himself a good fire, and lit a lamp. Huh. What are the odds? Sat there reading the Bible, then just before midnight, he heard something start up in the cellar. Walking back and forth. Then it sounded like somebody was trying to scream and got choked off. Then there was a lot of thrashing around and struggling, and finally, everything got quiet. The old preacher took up his Bible once more, but before he could start reading, I also included that. He said again, but I said once more because it sounded better. Okay, so anyway, the old preacher took up his Bible once more, but before he could start reading, he heard footsteps coming up the cellar stairs. He sat watching the door to the cellar, and the footsteps kept coming closer and closer. He saw the doorknob turn, and when the door began to open, he jumped up and hollered, "What do you want?" The door shut back easy-like, and there wasn't a sound. The preacher was trembling a little, but he finally opened the Bible and read a while. Then he got up and laid the book on a chair and went to mending the fire. Then the haunt started. Because, I would have figured that the haunt started once he got there and all the screams and everything started. But I guess not. Anyway, here we go. Then the haunt started walking again, and step up the cellar stairs. The old preacher sat watching the door, saw the doorknob turn, and the door opened. It looked like a young woman. He backed up and said, "Who are you? What do you want?" I don't think that looks like a young woman. Personally, I don't think that looks like a young woman to me. The haunt, the ghost, the haunt, is that like a legal thing? Is that something that authors have to deal with? You can't call them ghosts? Because if so, that's bullshit. Anyway, The haunt sort of swayed, like she didn't know what to do. Then she just faded out. The old preacher waited, and when he didn't hear any more noise, he went over and shut the door. He was sweating and trembling all over, but he was a brave man, and he thought he'd be able to see it through. So he turned his chair to where he could watch, and he sat down and waited. It wasn't long before he heard the haunt start up again, slowly, step, 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 closer and closer, step, step. And it was right at the door. The preacher stood up and held his Bible out before him. Then the knob slowly turned, and the door opened wide. This time, the preacher spoke quiet-like. He said, "In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, Ghost, who are you, and what do you want?" The haunt came right across the room, straight to him, and took hold of his coat. It was a young woman, about 20 years old. Her hair was torn and tangled, and the flesh was dropping off of her face. She had no eyeballs, but there was sort of a blue light way back in her eye sockets. And she had no nose to her face. It is pretty creepy. The illustration I do admire. I like the art in this book quite a bit. She then started to talk. It sounded like her voice was coming and going with the wind. She told how her lover had killed her for money and buried her in the cellar. She said if the preacher would dig up her bones and bury her properly, she could rest. Then she told him to take the end of the joint, take the end joint of the little finger from her left hand. She told him to take the joint. What was left of this is so much for spooky. Alright, anyway. Then she told him to take the end joint of the little finger from her left hand and to lay it on the collection plate at the next church meeting. And he'd find out who had murdered her. And she said, if you come back here once more after that, you'll hear my voice at midnight. I'll tell you where my money is hid, and you can give it to the church. What a kind ghost this is, I just want to say. Just, wow. Great Samaritan. What? The haunt sobbed like she was tired, and she sunk down toward the floor and was gone. The preacher found her bones and buried them in the graveyard. The next Sunday, the preacher put the finger bone in the collection plate, and when a certain man happened to touch it, it stuck to his hand. The man jumped up and rubbed and scraped and tore at the bone, trying to get it off. Then he went to screaming, like he was going crazy. Well, he confessed to the murder, and they took him on to jail. After the man was hung, okay, they hung the man. Alright, we might just do like one or two stories here at this point. What is this book? What? Alright. Anyway, they hung the man. After the man was hung, the preacher went back to the house one midnight, and the haunt's voice told him to dig under the Hard Rock. Sorry, not Hard Rock. Whatever. The Hard Rock Cafe. He did, and he found a big sack of money. And where the haunt had held on to his coat, the print of those bony fingers was burned right into the cloth. It never did come out. Yeah, that wasn't scary. The next story that we're going to read, I have not read through it at all, but the illustration looks enticing. This is called Cold as Clay. A farmer had a daughter for whom he cared for more than anything on earth. She fell in love with a farmhand named Jim, but the farmer did not think Jim was good enough for his daughter. To keep them apart, he sent her to live with her uncle on the other side of the country. Soon after she left, Jim got sick, and he wasted away and died. Everyone said he died of a broken heart. The farmer felt so guilty about Jim's death, he could not tell his daughter what had happened. She continued to think about Jim and the life they might have together. One night, many weeks later, There was a knock on her uncle's door. When the girl opened the door, Jim was standing there. "Your father asked me to come get you," he said. "I came on the best horse." "Is there anything wrong?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. I don't know if I would trust that. There's a little Pet Cemetery action going on. Okay, anyway. She packed a few things and they left. She rode behind him, clinging to his waist. Soon, he complained of a headache. "It aches something terrible," he told her. She put her hand on his forehead. "Why? You are as cold as clay." That she said. She said that they are. "I hope you're not ill." And she wrapped her handkerchief around his head. They traveled so swiftly in that few hours, they reached the farm. The girl quickly dismounted and knocked on the door. Her father was startled to see her. "Didn't you send for me?" she asked. "No, I didn't," he said. She turned to Jim, but he was gone, and so was the horse. They went to the stable to look for them. The horse was there. It was covered with sweat and trembling fear. Do horses sweat? Terrified, her father told her the truth about Jim's death. Then quickly, he went to see Jim's parents. They decided to open his grave. The corpse was in its coffin, but around its head, they found the girl's handkerchief. Oh. Jim wanted to see her one last time. Alright, this story is called The Thing. Ted Martin and Sam Miller were good friends. They spent a lot of time together. On this particular night, they were sitting on a fence near the post office, talking about one thing and another. There was a field of turnips across the road. Suddenly, they saw something crawl out of the field and stand up. It looked like a man, but in the dark it was hard to tell for sure, and then it was gone. But soon, it reappeared. It walked halfway across the road, then it turned around and went back into the field. Then it came out a third time and started towards them. By now, Ted and Sam were scared. They started to run, but when they finally stopped, they decided they were being foolish. They weren't sure what had scared them, so they decided to go back and get a better look. That's smart. Real smart. Good job, guys. Anyway, pretty soon they saw it, for it was coming to meet them. It was wearing black pants, a white shirt, and black suspenders. Sam said, "I'm gonna try to touch it. Then we'll know if it's real." Sam's an idiot. Oh, man. He walked up to it and peered into its face, and bright penetrating eyes sunk deep into its head. It looked like a skeleton. Ted took one look and screamed, and again, he and Sam ran. But this time the skeleton followed them. When they got to Ted's house, they stood in the doorway and watched it. It stayed out in the road for a while. Then it disappeared. A year later, Ted got sick and died. Everyone's dying. Everyone's getting sick and dying in this. Toward the end, Sam sat up with him every night. The night Ted died, Sam said he looked just like the skeleton. Ooh. It was the future. It's future Sam. Also, Sam, pal, if you were looking like this, or Ted, whoever died, I don't know. That's rough. That's rough either way. All right, yeah. There's a lot of stories in this. I guess scary story book. It's not. But yeah, there it is. Once more for you guys. And there's the author as well as, well, you know, I'll probably put them down in the description. I probably have to, legally. But anyway, thank you guys for watching and during this. Have a happy October, happy Halloween. Stay spooky. Stay spooking jukes. Spooky loops. All right. Bye, everyone.